Talking about the transportational kind of injuries, they not only relate to the car accidents or the railway accidents or the air crash accidents, it can also relate to the motorcyclists, cyclists, as well as the non-occupants of the vehicle involved, that is the pedestrians. They can also be involved and they can also be hurt. Now, the kind of injuries that can occur to the motorcyclists, the cyclists, and the pedestrians, they are basically discussed over here in this third section. So the pedestrians are basically the people who are walking on the sidewalks, and they can be involved by the cars, of course, by the cyclists or by the pedalists. They can be involved. The pattern of injury is quite important in the pedestrians again. And what are the kind of samplings? It's basically the pedestrians are at stake, and they're obviously sometimes they're not involved directly in the accident. So some of these samples are taken and they are sent to the chemical pathologist just to maintain what was the cause of the accident by the car driver. And basically the blood samples are also tested for the alcohol sampling as well, because it is very important to know whether the driver was in an intoxicated kind of a stage or not. That will basically form the legal grounds for the case. So it's very important to get into the investigations like this. So the injuries to motorcyclists, cyclists, and pedestrians are discussed over here, and we'll discuss them one by one quite comprehensively. What are the kind of samples and what are the kind of injuries that are basically happening in these motorcyclists, cyclists, as well as the pedestrians. Now, basically the injuries that can occur to the motorcyclists, the person who is basically even at the front seat or even at the back seat, he is at stake, but still the kind of injuries are almost the same because they're already exposed from all of the sides. They don't have any compartments and they're exposed, quite exposed, so the injuries are of more fatal type over here. There are very least defensive mechanisms, for example, the helmets, and all of these are still there. The gears, the defensive gears are there, but they are not quite used by the people who are driving these motorcycles. So the injury of the chest and the abdomen is again very important over here, and of course it can be a front impact, a decelerating kind of an injury, or as well as an accelerating kind of an injury whenever we are talking about these chest and abdominal injuries. Again, the organs of the chest and abdomen are at stake. Lungs, for example, the heart is at stake. Then in the abdominal organs, the kidneys, spleen, liver, and all of the pelvic organs are at stake whenever there is a severe injury to these regions. Then the motorcyclist fracture is again very important. So it can be basically a compound fracture that can occur to the motorcyclist involving the femur, the tibia, fibula, and there again the lower limb bones, and they are at stake whenever the motorcyclist gets hurt. So the ring fractures, and they occur mostly at the foramen magnum, that is basically the base of the skull. So that is why it's basically called as the foramen magnum. Now all of the structures that are the components of the foramen magnum are at stake whenever the ring fractures occur. The cortical contusions and the lacerations are again very important over here, and they can be bruising. They can basically relate to bruising, abrasions, and jagged lacerations, and that can prove quite fatal over here. So the brain damage and the spinal fractures are again very important. The brain damage occur due to the coup and the contact injuries of the head, and then the skull fractures are again very important. They can be the Pons fractures, the knobbing fractures in the infants, and they can be the depressed fractures of the skull. So it can be just a displacement or a complete fracture along with the displacement of the tables of the skull. So the rib fractures include basically the again the knobbing fractures, and they can be a single fracture or they can move on to the compound fractures that is going to result in the complication of the flail chest. There will be a paradoxical kind of a breathing, and that is going to be quite hazardous over here. So the visceral damage is again very important. The liver and the spleen are the organs over here that are quite important over here. And if they are damaged, they are basically included in the vital organs, including the heart and the brain. Damage to these organs can be quite fatal to the person whosoever undergoes these kind of injuries. Tailgating injuries are again very important. So it's very important that after the initial injury has occurred, it can basically get tailed inside, and we have to basically track down what injuries has occurred internally. So it's basically a tailgating phenomena, and we'll just have a look, we'll just have a complete investigation. And of course, the complete investigation includes the radiological imaging, that is the CT scan, MRIs, are basically included even in the living and in the dead individuals, whatever we are investigating at that point. So the brain is again very important. So the defensive mechanisms, they basically include the intake of the helmets. So the helmets are again of crucial importance over here, and we should emphasize on the importance of these helmets and the usage of these helmets, or the defensive gears, riding gloves. All of these are the defensive mechanisms that can be applied to the motorcyclist. The eye protection and the armors are again very defensive, and they can prove to be quite vital whenever these impacts occur. The riding boots and long pants, just to improve the defensive mechanism, because the legs and the lower limb is at stake whenever such injuries occur. The waterproof riding gear is again very important over here. And then the riding and the training classes. Of course, if the person who is riding the vehicle is well trained, then only he can basically foolproof himself while he's basically on the roads. Now, injuries to the pedal cyclist is again very important, and it basically includes the secondary damage to shoulder, chest, and arm, of course. And of course, these are basically the areas that are at exposure whenever we are talking about the motorcyclist or the pedalist. So they are at stake over here. And then the entrapment of the leg. So the lower limb is again at stake over here. The femoral fractures, the tibial and fibular fractures are again repeated over here in the pedal cyclist kind of patterns. The compression of the soft tissues, it can be basically a compression to the chest or a compression to the abdomen, of course. And the abdominal organs again include the organs of the abdomen as well as the pelvic region can be at stake whenever such kind of injuries occur in the pedal cyclist. Don't put too much pressure on the handlebars. So these are basically the safety precautions that can be taken by the pedal cyclist or by the motorcyclist, and basically hold the vehicle in a neutral position whenever you are just in a resting phase, and not with wrists too high or too low. So it's basically, this is the position that a person should take whenever he's pedal cycling, and it's basically the most safest position because the neck, the hands, the hip, knee, and the ankle and the foot are in a quite defensive kind of a mode whenever the position is like this. So there can be a pattern of injuries to the pedestrians as well. It includes the tertiary injuries impact with the ground that is going to result in the tertiary kind of injuries. And then we have the secondary injuries, that is the side impacts with the vehicle or the front or the rear impacts with the vehicle that is going to result in these kind of injuries. Injuries to the pelvis, abdomen and chest is again very important over here. The shoulder girdle, arm or head injuries, coup and contour coup including, are very important over here. And then the abrasions and the lacerations, if we talk about them, that are basically part and parcel of this road traffic accidents and bruising. Extensive it can be. And lower limb injuries, lower limb is at special stake because the bumper fractures are quite evident over here in the pedestrian kind of injuries, and the flaying or the overlaying injuries are quite important. The whole flap is over there in the flaying injury, and it's due to the bumper fractures or the bumper impacts with the vehicles. And the intradermal bruising is again very important whenever there is a blunt impact with the vehicles. So it's basically, the statistics are showing that the head injury count is almost to the 16 whenever we are talking about the injuries to the pedestrians, and that is basically the highest kind of injury that has been recorded, and the least is basically the ruptured ligament in the knee, and the second highest is basically the fractured tibia and the fibula. So again, the bumper is fractured, the bumper impact is the cause behind all of these counts. This is again a diagram. Basically, it's showing a bumper impact. It can be a primary impact injury, and the second one is basically a hood and the windscreen impact, and that is basically going to be the secondary impact injury. So the ground impact, when the person falls down, it is again the secondary kind of an impact injuries that occur in the pedestrians. So this is basically the mechanism of injury in the pedestrians that we have been discussing, and it's quite comprehensive. So in this section, basically, we dealt with the motorcyclists, the pedalists, as well as the pedestrians, and in particular, what kind of injuries occur to these people. That is discussed over here. So that is the end of this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.